Freight Efficiency with NACFE's Mike Roth and Friends.
Joining us here in episode 131 is Chris Hammond. He's Executive Vice President of Industry Affairs and Strategic Accounts at Great Dane, where he talks about the 126-year history of the company, the various roles he has held during his long tenure with Great Dane, and his new role coming into 2026. He also talks about where trailers are headed in the future, what the industry needs to know about trailers, and he shares advice he would give to his younger self and people who are new to trucking. Today we have joining us Chris Hammond. Chris is now get ready for this. He's the Executive Vice President, Industry Affairs and Strategic Accounts. Boy, that's a mouthful, Chris. Let's get into what all that means. Thanks for joining us today.
Thanks for having me. I'm excited to be here.
Yeah, so let's just answer that question. I mean, you got kind of a new role, and also you've been at Great Dane a long time, and we'll get into the company here in a minute. But tell us about this new role for you, and what'll be different. And you excited? You worried? What's the?
I'm not worried. I can assure you that. Excited is an understatement. I just got off a call with one of my teams explaining my new role, being that I'm leading sales, but I'll be moving over, sometime later this year. It really takes effect. And told him I'm the happiest person on this call. But here, I'll go all the way back. My first job at Great Dane will be 39 years ago this year. I bucked rivets on the main line, Department 71 in Savannah, Georgia that summer. And every summer and Christmas break after that during college and all that, I worked for Great Dane. I was a trailer assembler, a cycle counter. I did scheduling and engineering support. Like, I did everything. And then when I got out of college, I went into sales. I moved a few times for the company, had 3 territories, promoted up to vice president of our dealer group, which included the international sales group. That was way back. I think I met you when I was still in that job. And then 11 years ago, I started executive vice president of sales, which has been terrific. And then here just recently announced I'm moving into that industry affairs and strategic accounts. So that job is really working inside the industry with organizations like NACFE. As you know, I was on the board in the past, and I've just rejoined your board of directors.
Right.
Work with Act One, the Allied Committee for Trucking. Do a lot of work with our kind of government affairs pieces of things that we're managing these days. So it's really a great job. I'm down to the last few years of my career as well. So I'm pretty excited about, kind of closing out a long time at Great Dane.
Yeah. And kudos to Great Dane and you. I mean, there's this, I don't know, there's this term in the industry that, we, what is it, tribal knowledge, or just like, when people retire and walk out, so much expertise and wisdom walks out the door. And some companies, and we're in this freight recession, really difficult times. I mean, trailers are more severe even than tractors and some other parts of our industry when you have these downtimes, and we have to cut, and so many times I've seen people just leave, and it's just unfortunate. And it's really cool that you're able to do this work. I mean, don't get me wrong. It's not, you don't have a gravy train ahead of you. This is tough things, but it's good investment. And glad that that's happened. It sounds like a great thing.
Yeah, Great Dane's got to be at the table, is my view. We have to be at the table when regulations happen, when tariffs happen, when USMCA gets renegotiated, electrification rules. We got to be at the table. And
Yes.
I call it, we've got to be the power center of the industry. We were founded 126 years ago now. Last year we had our, if I can say it right, sesquicentennial, I think is how you say 125th. We had our 125th year as a company. We started in Savannah, Georgia, which is where I'm domiciled today. We started as the Savannah Blowpipe Company. It was actually my great-great-grandfather started the company. He was riding on a train through the low country of Georgia and South Carolina and kept seeing all these wood chip mills and sawmills. And he's like, there's got to be a way to make money. And it started out, kind of these blowpipe machines that would evacuate sawdust and chips away from the workers so they could keep cutting and doing all that stuff. And what started as that, using metal really took us farther into metal. We became the Savannah Steel Company, and we did other projects and products, and ultimately got into trailers. And the story of getting into trailers is great. We built our own trailer for ourselves to deliver our blowpipe systems to customers, and customers would say, "Well, I got to deliver my end goods to market. Can you build me a trailer?" So it's funny, the first trailer we ever sold was one we had used ourselves to deliver our product to a customer. So I always say we started out as a used trailer company because the first trailer we sold was used. But we built trailers in Savannah, that was 20s, 30s. That was the only place we built them until the 70s. And then we really started growing. We were this little regional company. And we started growing after that, and we bought Aero Trailer in Tennessee, and we built the Brazil, Indiana factory in the 70s, and it just keeps going, right? You know, uh, Years later, we bought the Fruhall flatbed plant from Wabash. Years later, we bought a factory from Strick, which we own in Pennsylvania, and we bought a Trailmobile factory in Jonesboro, Arkansas, that we run today. And we merged with the Pines Corporation. That's when the Crown family bought us.
Mhm.
Terrific family. They've owned us since 97. Merged the Pines plants in, before some of those transactions. We bought Johnson Refrigerated Truck Body in Wisconsin, and other assets to build out our capacity and capabilities. So it's really been a really cool story for 125 years. And I couldn't be more excited about year 126, and, where do we go from here?
When I think about trailers and I think about the trailer players, I do think about Great Dane being on the forefront of some innovation. And you kind of described it there, but when you look at your like competitive advantage, is innovation or new products? I mean, do you try to stay uh, ahead of things there, or do I have that right?
We are ahead of things, but let me say this. We developed and built the first, I'll do a little history and then I'll go to the future. The first factory finished refrigerated trailer in the industry. Back in the late 40s, we built, and it was just a little Briggs and Stratton engine mounted on the front, turning two air, blades over blocks of ice, and that was a refrigerated trailer in the 40s and 50s. We remade one, and it's in our showroom today. A 1953 version of that. And we've made it our mobile museum, taking it to shows. We'll take it to other shows, but it is really cool. So that's just, step one in the beginning of a lot of great history of innovation, and being on the front edge. And I'll tell you, I was thinking about it. Really, the key for us, a lot of it's inside, right? But a lot of it's partnering. You
Yeah.
know, I, I'd say our most two very important partners today that help keep us ahead, and help us really create a more efficient piece of equipment, or Energy Guard with aerodynamics. You know,
Yep.
those guys are terrific, and they always say aerodynamics shouldn't be a compliance decision; it should be a profit decision. And through through NACV, you guys kind of prove that. And
Yeah.
so, we've got the leading product that we partner with, and, fastest payback investment left in trucking, right? And it pays for itself constantly. And again, we kind of learned that from you, and that's why we created that strategic partnership. And I'll just say the other one would be Fleet Pulse. That uh, we did incubate it, but it's its own company today. And again, we always built efficient, strong trailers, but that's part of the story, as you say, and once it leaves the yard, money's getting left on the table, and that's why we
Yeah.
partner.
I've done 130 episodes. This is freight efficiency with Mike Roth and friends. And so I don't want to miss the fact of forcing us to figure out kind of exactly, or the best we can, how we met and became friends. So you alluded to it earlier, but let's try to figure that out for a second.
No, I don't have to figure it out. I remember it.
Oh,
So our customers, several of our customers came to us and were talking about NACFE, and that they thought it was an important organization. So I looked into it. I was running the dealers at the time, and it was some customers up through our dealer channel. So I started investigating it myself, and I reached out to you, whether we were at a trade show, a phone call, I don't remember, but this was back 2014, 2015 when I was still doing that dealer job.
Yeah.
And, we quickly latched onto it. Like my engineering department's like, no, that all sounds really good. What are they doing? What's their vision out forward? And how will that, promote the industry and grow the industry and help us, inform us on where to go? Cause, all your engineering R&D groups like, well, where do we go?
Yeah.
And there was such a value, argument to spend the time with you guys that it led to that and ultimately ended up on the board of directors for a number of years right after that. So that was probably 2014, 2015
Yeah.
is how it all started.
I grabbed you a couple years ago and said, "Hey, we're making a what is Naxi video," and didn't give you time to say no. And I had a video crew and right in front of you in Great Dane booth, and you said that video is still on our homepage. And you in there say that one of the of Naxi is that when you call us, we are quick to respond and we have good answers. But if we don't have answers, we find somebody to talk to you.
Yeah, you guys always have either the answer or can at least lead us in a direction to consider or think about it, right? So that's absolutely true. In fact, you've come to Savannah and spoken to my engineering team. I've had you at a sales meeting
Yeah.
so that my sales force could understand NACFE, but really the outcomes of your run on less and things like that. So that's been really a great part of it. It's really the educational piece of it. Not everybody really understands the world of freight efficiency and all the work going on and all the work you guys do. Like it's amazing. And when you guys publish, you just published here, a little while back, and heck, I dive in and my engineers dive in and they're using that to corroborate assumptions they have. So it's really terrific information. You're really the clearinghouse in our book, at least at Great, kind of the clearinghouse of that type of information.
Yeah, yeah. And over my 40 years, I mean, for the first half of it, fuel economy wasn't really a thing. I mean, we could put plenty of diesel fuel in the truck, we could drive for days. And you got fuel surcharges and this and that and the other. But man, when fuel went from $1.50 to $2 to $3 to $4, it went over $5 for a couple of weeks. I mean, the industry had a kind of an all shit moment about the time Nasty was getting started, and I think that cost of fuel has now become much more of a something we proactively work on than just having to deal with every so often. So uh, so one thing I'd like to ask you, Chris, and you're probably on your mind with this new role a little bit. We both stayed, got in the industry young and stayed in it our 40-year careers. Um, and on this, the people that listen to these podcasts, a lot of times they're new to the industry. Maybe they're come in from another industry or whatever. There's so much change going on in trucking that we're finding a lot of new people. So, what is it about this industry that's kept you in it all these decades?
I don't want to sound corny, but it's the people. I love trucks. I love trailers. I love getting dirty. I love standing up under the fifth wheel and getting grease all over the back of my white shirt. Like I did that a lot when I was younger. But it comes down to the people, right? And it doesn't matter what level of people you're talking to, right? These are driven, hardworking, just great people. So if you ask me, I think the relationships that you've built and I've built over these 40 years is really it just keeps you energized to keep going. And how do we, what can we do to make it better for those people, for the guys in the
Yeah.
shop or the ladies in the cab driving it? Like, how do we make life good for them? Because it's just, and it's so important, right? What is it? 70% of all freight moves by truck. Is that the right number? I mean,
Yeah, it does.
how that's
You
pretty
know,
important. And that's a compelling story. And
like truck driving is the number one job in like 14 states or something like that. I think you're right. I think at the heart of it, trucking's not optional. Moving freight's not optional. It's the backbone of a healthy economy, and so I think there's that drives all of us to do it well and try to do it better and make it more affordable and safer and all those things. And that's what sort of brings us together. I think you're onto it right there.
yeah,
So where are trailers headed in the future then? I hear the term smart trailer. We've even seen electric axles and batteries where The trailer becomes part of the actual propulsion of the tractor trailer. I mean, man, like a lot of our lives, technology is sort of mind blowing. But what's going to really happen in your mind, Chris?
Well, just if just being pragmatic, right? So the technology and data, locational, like all of that stuff is now becoming table stakes, right? Like
Yeah.
we're standard with a base package of the Fleet Pulse, which I mentioned earlier, but we're standard with a telematics system, right? And then you can, go anywhere from there, right? You can have cameras inside, you're going to see cameras outside, like whatever your car is giving you for information, your trailer is going to be giving you that because as you take that long road to autonomy, and when we get there, I might be retired, but when we get there, that trailer has to be as smart as the truck.
Hmm.
And that's what really drives this trailer from being, really was just kind of a dumb box, right? It was a box, but there was no brain, right? Trailers have brains now. And trailers are reporting data and they're telling you how they feel. Hey, I'm hurt, and that's amazing. And that is not going to slow down. That will speed up. At some point, they're all going to be smart trailers, right?
Yeah, and another reality in North American trucking, it's a little different in Europe and a few other places, but the trailer, of course, needs to be or is independent because it's often dropped and hooked. So quite often the trailer is disconnected from the tractor for whatever reason and hooked up to a different tractor this afternoon or tomorrow. So that makes this I never call it trailer independent, but in North America, that's definitely the case, right?
Yeah, absolutely. That's you're totally spot on. And, you know, which leads to more of that smart trailer. It's got to be theft proof, right? And how does technology help with that?
Yeah.
Because that trailer, yeah, this guy was in charge of it, but now he's had to drop it here. Well, who's watching it? Well, the trailer has to watch itself now.
Another thing I'd like to ask you about is refrigerated. You talked about it a little bit earlier about how far we've come from, blowing air over ice to cool the trailer to where we are today. But um, you know, to our count, and I'm sure you helped us figure this out, something like 15% of the trailers are refrigerated in America. A lot more stuff is moved with temperature controlled. You think, okay, well, it's got to be, frozen chickens and stuff like that. But floral and a lot of shampoos and pharmaceuticals, and there's a lot of stuff that is refrigerated. And boy, there's a lot of technology coming there as well.
Yeah, totally. And you're right. I don't think people real recognize um, how much freight does need temperature control for sure. But it's interesting on that side. I don't know if I've talked to you recently about this, but efficiency in that refrigeration is something that we looked at years ago. We actually developed a product called Thermogard, which it allows the insulation properties of a trailer to stay intact over time. Kind of the dirty little secret of refrigerated trucking is a reefer trailer. Um, kind of loses its ability to hold the insulation temperatures and it gains weight, right?
Yeah.
Moisture gets in the wall, it gets in the foam. I've heard fleets say it gained 1,500, 2,000 pounds.
Wow.
But even that is being attacked through technology like Thermogard, which is just a certain product we put inside our lining that actually prevents the water weight gain and allows that reefer to, if it's born an ice cream reefer, it'll stay an ice cream reefer for its whole life. It doesn't have to, a lot of trailers go from one, in the fleet from ice cream to produce to retired.
Yeah.
Uh, but that's a huge advancement in refrigeration in the last 15 years.
You kind of alluded to the freight cycle, but if you just look at trailer numbers, production numbers from anybody, Act Research or whoever, trailer sales will, it'll be 50% from a high to a low. That's one interesting dynamic of trailers. Anything else you'd like to share?
I'm kind of fascinated right now at like trade cycles and things like that. I feel like fleets are really challenging the paradigm. I need to trade it in 5 years or 7 years or whatever, whether it's a refrigerator or dry, as they get more efficient and better and they really understand their maintenance and, repair cost, all that stuff. It's interesting. I feel like trailers are lasting longer, and I think fleets are through technology and data and all of that, and Fleet Pulse and the information it gives. I feel like they're learning that, and it's interesting. What I'm watching for is, do fleets change their buy cycle in the future because of what they're learning in this very unusual time we're in?
Yeah, I compare that sometimes to passenger cars. I mean, when we were kids, if a car lasted 80, 100,000 miles, it was like, oh my gosh, I'm getting a lot out of it. Now, 150, 200,000 miles on cars is not unheard of. I mean, your maintenance goes up a little bit. The durability of these vehicles has come up a lot. And as we're going through this freight recession, these fleets don't have capital to buy new ones, so they're going to stretch them if they can. So there's nothing, necessity breeds innovation or whatever the term is. I think what we're seeing is they're asking the question. My guess is, having what you said, Chris, is that the fleets are asking the question, can I delay some capital and purchases of trailers? It's not good for trailer makers, but on the other hand, if you've built a good solid product they can eke out some more time from, that's a good thing. And if we have
Yeah,
the data, to prove that, then all the better.
think about it. I talked about that 1953 sitting in my showroom down here. Today, that trailer's only like 32 foot or something. 53-foot trailer today weighs probably less than that thing does. I mean, it's a tank. But think about it. They're lighter, they're longer, they're more efficient. The trailer itself. They're smart and much more durable. And I think all of that has advanced over the years, right? And I'm giving an extreme example, 1953 to
Yeah,
today.
but it's still only 70 years, Chris.
Yeah, but right. And it's only going to continue, right? It's only going to continue.
Yeah. All right, so we got to wrap this up. This time always flies, Chris. But I always ask some version of this question of my guests because I've got great friends. They're wise old owls, or some of them are young and smart. I got some great friends. So like, what's your advice to people in our industry now? And let me change it for you. Like, what would you tell yourself when he was riveting trailers on the assembly line when you were 20, 22 years old? What would you advise yourself back then, if you could? How to handle trucking for the next 40 years. I mean, what's some sage advice you'd give all of us trying to improve safety, efficiency, quality, or whatever as we do our jobs here in 2026?
Well, one, my 20-year-old self wouldn't listen to me, but um, if I took him out for a drink, he might consider it, but I don't know if he would have really listened. But I think if I go back and reflect as a kid, coming out of school, selling trailers, I hate to sound like an old man, but it goes so fast. And at least in the profession of truck trailers, it's such a great industry with great people that you just understand you have entered into one of the most important industries supporting trucking, and what a great ride it's going to be, and take advantage of everybody you meet and learn everything you can about how they operate,
Yep.
so that you can bring solutions to them. You're the solution provider. I think that's what I would say. Now, again, I don't know that I would have listened to me back then, but here I am. I'll be 59 this year. And that's just a reflection of a guy that's been in it all of his life. I mean, it has been such a great 39 years so far.
So I think that's great advice. Keep your eyes open, be curious, don't get stuck in your ways. Think about, always be thinking about, a better way. And go to shows. I mean, I've blogged many times that these conferences and these shows, too many of us look at those as like extra stuff that we can do without. It really, with the speed of innovation and the collaboration that's needed, I'm high on, even find one in a year and go spend some time with other people with the same challenges we have, and I'm certain the solutions will come up and the ideas will flow and make things better. So
At the end of the day, you're right. Go and engage with the people. If it's at a show, at a conference, whatever, you get a heck of a lot more in person, in a conversation around a product or over dinner, than you can using Teams or technology or AI or all that stuff. That still matters today. It matters to your customer. It's going to matter to you. It's going to matter to what you bring back to your company so that they can
yeah.
learn from it.
get involved in some volunteer activities. TMC has, task forces around recommended practices, SAE. Other groups are doing real work in the industry, and I've heard people say, "I don't need that. I got LinkedIn, and I got this and that and the other where I can network and so forth." But there's a responsibility for us to not only just work on our own business, but help the industry through standards and other kind of things. And so those are great ideas. So Chris, thanks so much for being on. It's been a lot of fun. Good luck and rock it in your new role. And I'm looking forward to your involvement again with us on the board.
Oh, I can't wait to see y'all soon.
Take care.
Thanks, Mike.
Freight Efficiency with NACFE's Mike Rosen Friends.